Hey everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. As you can see by my setup, it's time to play Phase 10 Chooses My TBR. So it is that time again. It is almost November, which means I need to figure out what exactly this board is telling me I need to read. We're still currently in the midst of Phase 1, so I will be working on that when we get to that. But as you know, there are some things I want to get out of the way first. For readathons in November, as far as I know, at the moment, the only readathon I'm doing is the one I am hosting throughout the month of November called Bugsy's Journey Through Time. I will link the announcement video in the description above. And this is a nonfiction / historical fiction readathon where me and my friend Omi came up with 20 notable names and a historical fiction and a nonfiction prompt for each name. And you can choose to read one or both to collect the notable names. I'm going to have a separate TBR video for that, and I don't know whether this is getting posted first or that, but when it's up, I will make sure it's linked in the cards above. Obviously, I'm still doing Buzz Wordathon, and the Buzz Wordathon prompt for November is the word never, so I'll be reading I Shall Never Fall in Love. This is legitimately the only book I own that contains the word never, so I didn't really have tons of options. And I think, yeah, it says inspired by Jane Austen and queer history, so it's definitely going to have vibes, I think, of some classic stories, so I'm very curious about this one, and it should be an easy read, given that it is a graphic novel. And then the Buzz cover prompt is food or drink on the cover, and I'm going with a coffee shop and an alternate universe. As you can see, there is coffee on this cover. I believe this is like a cozy fantasy sci-fi because there's like alternate universes, so I'm very, very curious about this one, and I'm hoping I love it because I do love me a good cozy. Which brings me to my nonfiction pick of the month, and I'm going to read The Zorg, a tale of greed and murder that inspired the abolition of slavery. And this is going to be talking about this ship, the Zorg, and the route that it took, and how the events that took place with this ship were a major catalyst for starting the conversation of abolition. So very curious about this one. It looked absolutely fascinating, and I cannot wait to read it. Which brings me to this. It already looks completely full again, despite my best efforts. I think it's because the pieces of paper spread as I shake them. But it is time to pick 3 series out of this jar and see what I'm going to have to read. I am terrified. We got an orange one. We'll go over here. And a purple one. And I lost a piece of paper, and we'll go down to this corner and grab, ooh, another orange one. Very festive, given that it's a few days before Halloween. So I've stuck the lid back on, which might be a mistake. Let's see what we've got. Series number 1 is Song for a Whale. And I'm hoping to catch up on this in October. So we're going to pull a, you know what? We'll pick up one of the pieces of paper that dropped since it was so eager to come out. This is the first one I saw, and we'll go with this one. I can easily do this one. Witch Hat Atelier. I believe I'm on volume 5, so I am totally down to read this. This is a manga series that follows a young girl who has always wanted to be a witch, and something happens that leads her to actually going to get to learn about magic and how to become one. I've enjoyed the first 4 volumes, and listen, like, I could not have pulled much better if I'm going to add to my TBR than a quick manga. Series number 2. I can do this one. Aunt Dimity. So, normally this is where I tell you what book I'm going to read for this one, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I currently have 4 books of Aunt Dimity's on my October TBR, and I'm definitely hoping to get to them, but I don't know if I will, so I want whatever book is next to be on my TBR, so I'm hoping you guys will allow me a little bit of leeway with this by not naming a book, but I will absolutely read at least 1 book in the Aunt Dimity series in November. And then series number 3 is Bewitching Mystery by Madeline Alt. Let me go look this one up. So, I can't actually get the second book of the series. I've only read the first one. I don't have a ton of, like, fond memories of the first one. And I obviously didn't continue it at the time. And I don't remember liking the first book to want to buy the rest of the books in this series. So, we're going to DNF this. And we're going to grab the other piece of paper that fell on the floor and try this series. And this is Dead Good Detectives, which I'm caught up on. This is what I get for putting the lid back on. Only 2 pieces of paper fell on the floor. So let's see. We'll go with this one. And we have a red one. Let's see what we get. I can do this. Fae and Human Relations. Let me go grab book 3. So the next book in this series is Shade Spells with Strangers. This is a historical fiction fantasy romance series. I don't know who exactly we're following in this one, but I've had a really good time with the first 2. And a thing I love is it's dyslexia friendly. So it uses a font that is supposed to be helpful for dyslexic readers, which I think is really cool. So definitely excited to dive back into this one. So let's see. This is DNF'd. Trying to find all of my pieces of paper here. Fae and Human Relations has a book 4, so we'll put this back in my jar. I've got many, many volumes of Witch Hat Atelier I need to read. Dead Good Detectives is caught. I think it might actually be finished, but I'm definitely caught up on it. Aunt Dimity I'm hoping to catch up next month, so we'll stick it back in the jar in case it would like to come back out. Or in case I don't actually manage to catch up on it in December. And then, like I said, Song for a Whale I'm hoping to get to in October, even though I only have a few days left. So let's stick this back on. And normally I would go into this, but I just remembered that I needed to talk to you about the read-alongs I'm doing. So I have 2 read-alongs going in my Discord. The first one is for Warriors by Erin Hunter, and we're going to be starting arc number 2 in November by reading Midnight. This is a series that follows forest cats who live in clans and try to coexist. I wouldn't suggest diving in here if you haven't read the first arc, but if you have, then I think you can absolutely jump in and read this with us. I love this series, and me and Omi are having a really, really great time, so if you would like to come join us, we would love to have you. The other read-along I'm doing is the Cosmere read-along, and our book for November and December is The Way of Kings. I'm not planning on getting to this in November. I have too much on my plate with my own readathon, but you can read it in November if you'd like to join us, if this is where you're at. We have read the first Mistborn arc, Warbreaker, and Trust of the Emerald Sea, so this is where we're up to. We would love to have you join us. Again, we're having this discussion in my Discord, and the link to that is in the description below. So now, I believe with all of that out of the way, we can dive into this. So, first thing I'm going to address is I came up with a new reward for myself. And this reward says, no TBR Jar of Doom next month. Should I get this reward, then in the following month, so let's say I happen to put it on the board and it comes back off this month, in December, you will not see this jar. I will still have to continue 3 series and tell you about them. It's just I get to choose what those series are, which means I can make them work with books I'm already hoping to get to. I thought this sounded like a brilliant reward that allowed me a lot more choice and no sneaky like Robin Hobbs sneaking up on me to make my life harder. And speaking of that, I do get a reward, so let's slot this in. And we'll mix these up real good, because we don't want to automatically pull that new prompt. Also, Stop TBR is back in here, and I'm really hoping that goes up on the board, and I pull that, because this would be a great month to not have a huge Phase 10 TBR, even though I know y'all do love it. So we're going to spread these out, and I'm feeling... Well, no, this one kept wrinkling on me. So it is going to go on yellow 3. So we'll swap that in for the yellow 3. And we will slide the yellow 3 back in the deck. And while I'm shuffling, I should mention I do still have 3 rewards in the bank. The first is no punishments next month. And I have not had an opportunity to use this yet, because I haven't had any punishments. And while I could, in theory, just use it now and then not have to worry, I feel like this will give me the incentive to not work on my TBR, and I don't want that. I want to actually try to get through it, so we're waiting, and I can cash it in when I need it. The second is to remove 1 book from my TBR. So we'll see if that one happens to come up. And then the third is at the end of pulling my books, if I want to, I can figure out which one is the lowest rated and remove that one from my TBR. So we'll see how this goes. I will not need the no punishments next month, because currently I have 2 books left on my TBR, and that is Trust of the Emerald Sea, which I will absolutely 100% finish, and The Loudest Silence, which I'm currently in the middle of. So I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to finish my TBR. So that being said, let's go in and hope we can get some 9s and 12s. Draw number 1 is a red 3. I got excited there for a minute, but it's not the yellow 3 I was hoping for. And I don't need a 3 over there, so let's see. The prompt for yellow 3, nope, red 3, see, we're already losing it, y'all, is paperback. For this, I'm going to stick on Midnight. I'm going to be reading it anyway, so it seems like a perfect way to start this month's TBR. I love that prompt. It gives me so many options. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 2, which is a yellow 7. The prompt for, nope, that's green 7, yellow 7 is YA. So for this, I'm going to read Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe. I was pretty sure this was YA, and I double-checked Storygraph to make sure, and it is. Since it's already on my TBR for the Buzz cover prompt, I figured it made sense to stick it on my Phase 10 TBR as well. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 3, which is a green 8. The prompt for green 8 is randomize your TBR. So this is a little bit out of date, not gonna lie. It's been a minute since I updated my owned TBR spreadsheet, but currently there looks to be 374 spots. Some of these are books I may have read. I haven't, like I said, I haven't updated it for what I've read this month and stuff like that. And some of it, I have like a section, so like it says next book in the series, and I have those all separated out. So if it rolled where I have next book in the series, I wouldn't be able to read that, but let's see. We're going to generate a number, and I got number 245. So let me pull up the spreadsheet. We'll go to number 245. Okay. So as you can see, number 245 is Summer in July. Let me go find this, and I guess that's what I'm reading. So here we have Summer and July. Let's see what this is about, since I legitimately don't remember. 12-year-old Juliet is preparing for the worst summer ever. She and her mom are staying at the California seaside for a month, where her mom will be working at the local hospital and Juliet will be on her own, as usual. Meanwhile, her dad is in Europe with his new girlfriend, and Juliet is not even allowed to talk to her best friend, Fern, who took the blame for Juliet's goth girl clothes and, quote, not real, end quote, fears, like sharks, tsunamis, and the number 3. Thankfully, Juliet meets Summer, a local surfer girl who knows the coolest people around town. And Juliet begins to come out of her shell and face the things that have been troubling her. But when Summer reveals her own painful secret, it's Juliet's turn to be the strong and supportive friend. So this sounds like it could cover some really heavy topics like divorce, missing a friend, whatever is going on with Juliet's fears, while also introducing us to making a new friend and how to be a supportive one. And then, of course, whatever's going on with Summer. So very curious about this one. It is not what I was expecting to read and doesn't really fit with the vibe of what I want to read right now. But I think it'll be a quick read, so at least there's that. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 4, which is a yellow 3. Oh, look at that, y'all. And my reward is, ooh, I get to replace this prompt with a mood read. Nice. So, well, I don't really need to let you know what I'm going to read right now, considering, well, it's a mood read, which means I could read anything. Let's be real, we all know I'm going to read a book that is already on my TBR. So I'm just going to tell you and pick a book now. I'm going to read History Smashers, The Salem Witch Trials. I love this middle grade nonfiction series, and I'm curious to see what myths they smash about the Salem Witch Trials. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 5, which is a 9. Nice. Let's see. The blue 2, the blue 3, and the yellow 5 don't help me get a reward. But both 3s have been kind to me. So let's go with the blue 3. And we'll plop this 9 up here. And the prompt for blue 3 is to read a book with a dark cover. So for dark cover, I'm going to put on The Zorg, A Tale of Greed and Murder that inspired the abolition of slavery. Now, I know it's laid up here, but this is a really dark cover, and it covers a dark topic, too, in the title. So I think this counts. Again, my game, my rules, but we're going to use this one for dark cover. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 6, which is a red 5. The prompt for red 5. Read once, need more. What this means is I need to find an author where I've read one book of theirs and enjoyed it so much that I need to read another. This may take me a minute. So I found a few options for this, but the one that I think makes sense with the rest of my TBR is going to be Don't Want to Be Your Monster by Deke Moulton. I read Benji Zeb is a Ravenous Werewolf for my queer book club in October and gave it an easy 5 stars and then immediately went out and bought Deke's other book. This says Adam and Victor are brothers who have the usual fights over the remote, which movie to watch, and whether or not it's morally acceptable to eat people. Well, not so much eat, just drink a little blood. They're vampires, hiding in plain sight with their eclectic yet loving family. When bodies start to appear all over town, those usual fights become something more. Adam wants to use his vampiric abilities to protect mortals and track down the killer, while Victor could care less about those same mortals who see vampires like him only as villains. Even as it becomes clear that the murders are bait and a vampire hunter is looking for their family, is it possible for Adam and Victor to reconcile their differences and work together, or will it be too late? Like I said, I really, really loved Benji Zeb, and I'm hoping that this one hooks me the same exact way Benji did. So I thought this was a very obvious choice for this prompt. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 7. Ooh, red 12. Let's see, we're going to go with the yellow 5. Because this 5 was just really nice to me and gave me a book I'm really excited about. So hopefully the prompt for yellow 5 will also deal me a book I'm hopefully going to love. 1 word title. You know, I was surprised I actually had more options for this than I thought I was going to, considering this is such a very specific prompt. But the book I'm going to go with is Greenwild. This is a reread for me, and I honestly need to reread it because I'm not sure I could tell you what it was about. I know we're following a girl who I believe goes into another land after following a cat there. And there is definitely like plant magic, but it has been a while since I read the first one. I remember the details being fuzzy when I read the second one and had planned to reread books 1 and 2 so that I could be fresh for book 3, which came out, I think, in June, as I wanted to finish this trilogy this year. So we're going to use this opportunity to get Greenwild on my TBR. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 8. Which is a yellow 7. The closer we get to the end of this, the more nervous I get that it's going to be a wild. So the prompt for yellow 7 is people on the cover. I'm going to go with Shade Spells and Strangers since there are 2 people on this cover and I have to read it anyways. Getting a lot of those reads that randomly came out of my jar or required for some other reason on my TBR is very, very nice so far. We'll replace that with this and go to draw number 9, which is a blue 8. I really want a green 6, y'all. Blue 8. The prompt for blue 8. Set in another world. So y'all, my TBR jar came through for me here by giving me Witch Hat Atelier Volume 5. I don't remember exactly what the name of the world is, but it is definitely not ours. So I think this is the perfect time to stick a manga on my TBR because it just makes everything so much easier. We'll replace that with this and go to our last draw, draw number 10. And I have completed my phase. So here's what we're going to do. We're obviously going to take the blue 2. And we'll stick it up here. And we're going to do the prompt. And then I get to put another reward on the board for finishing my phase. So, blue 2. That's a blue 1. Blue 2. Roll a die, and the number has to be the number the book ends in. Now, last time I used a D6, and I realized that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're going to use a D10, and if I get a 10, then the book needs to end in the number 0. So let's roll. I need to land on the number 0. Oh, no. This might take me a minute, for sure. This is a prompt where I think I really need to sit down and add the page numbers to the books I own so that I have an easier time trying to figure out what books I have that are options, because I've probably gone through about 40 different books. But the one I'm going to go with is Greenwild, The City Beyond the Sea, because this clocks in at 380 pages. We're not counting the illustration at the end. So this is the second book in the Greenwild series. I did say I wanted to reread it. Well, now I've gotten both books, 1 and 2, on my TBR. We'll replace that with this, and there you have it. That is my TBR for the month of November. One thing I forgot earlier is that I'm doing Bookstara's Readalong, and when I was looking for books that may end in 0, I remembered it, so I wanted to mention that we will all be reading just for the summer in November, and this is the third book in this trilogy. It is a series of companion novels, and I've enjoyed the first 2, so I'm curious to see who we follow in this one and how they connect to the main story. Now I believe I have covered everything I needed to cover in this video, with a TBR that seems somewhat doable and didn't add too many hard books to my already very bloated TBR. Oh, and I almost forgot, I have a reward that I get to put on the board, and it is going to go on nowhere, because the card gods have decided that I don't get to put another reward on the board. Okay, now I really do believe that is everything. I am very excited for all the things November is bringing. I can't believe we're this close to the end of the year, and next month should be interesting because it'll be me trying to tie up all of the loose ends that I could possibly tie up in 1 month. Plus, I'm pretty sure based on past years that I'm doing at least 2 readathons in December, so you have that to look forward to as well. But that brings us to the end of this video. What is a book you're hoping to get to in November that you are super excited about? Mine is one that I didn't manage to squeeze on my Phase 10 TBR, and it's Brigands and Bread Knives, which is the next book in the Legends and Lattes series. So that is the one I'm most excited for. I just have to wait for it to get here because it doesn't come out till like the 11th or something like that. But that is the one I'm most excited for that I'm hoping to get to in November. So let me know yours in the comment section below. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me green emojis in honor of the fact that I got 2 Greenwild books on my TBR. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!